You want to play a Weaver in open world and be completely able to solo anything that is in your path, then this build is for you. It's a very fun, very strong solo build that is very capable of soloing anything in this game. So if you're intrigued by this, be sure to watch the whole video to not miss out a thing about this amazing build. As always, special shout out to all my dear supporters that help me keep the lights on. And now, without much further ado, let's jump straight in. Let's start with the gear. The gear is really straightforward. It's obviously a Celestial build, so full Celestial with Superior Rune of the Trapper. And if you can afford infusions, you would go with Expertise infusions. Of course, they just add 1 to 2% more damage, but still, if you can afford them, that would be it. You can replace the Superior Rune of the Trapper if you want to with Superior Rune of Balthasar if you can't afford the Trapper rune. But it's not necessary. Trapper is the best option. For weapons, I would recommend Pistol Warhorn. If you don't have access to Pistol, you can also use a Scepter. However, Pistol is better in terms of damage output. So you would again go for full Celestial. However, so Sigil would be Superior Sigil of Strength with Superior Sigil of Frailty. If you have some people around you, sometimes the frailty is unnecessary because there might be other vulnerability appliers around, so then you can go for bursting or smoldering if you're not going for Balthasar rune. For your trinkets, I would go with full Celestial again as well, makes sense. And for your relic, I would go with Relic of the Fractal for the most amount of damage. If you want to have even more sustain, then you can swap that for Relic of Rivers to get some alacrity and region access. That would be obviously the best choice if you want to be really defensive. But this build has actually quite a lot of defenses already. Another option would be Relic of the Astral Ward. If you need a lot of contact lenses, some resistance, this would be the way to do it. But most of the time you don't fight that many foes that have that many condis, so this is just really overkill for most of the time in my opinion. Let's now talk about food and utility consumables. You would go with Peppered Cured Meat Flatbread for the minus 10% incoming damage and some condition damage expertise. If you can't get the Ascended food, you would go with Koi Cakes. They are very cheap and swapped stats, but still very, very strong. And for utility consumables, I would go with Tuning Icicles, just the most amount of condition damage that you can get, or something of similar value, of course. Before I go to the trades, I want to mention, if you like this video and want to see more of it, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. But now let's talk about the trades. Trades are very straightforward as well, very common for any Weaver build that is a condition-based Weaver. You run Fire, Earth, and Weaver. In Fire, you get just some nice power in Fire attunement, you get some Sunspot damage here, and you get some cooldown reduction in Fire and some more damage to the burning foes. Makes sense. Then your burning has longer duration, very good. You have a chance to apply burning on crit, which is really good because you are after a Celestial, so you will crit quite often, and that will be off cooldown. And then you have burning rage, just more condition damage, and when you use Sunspot, so you swap to Fire, you will also do some burning around you. That's nice. And then you have Pyromancer's Puissance, very important trait because it helps you keeping up 25 might, and you will do some damage when you swap out of Fire, which you can do quite often because you are Weaver. So very, very strong. Pyromancer's Puissance grants you might whenever you use an attack, any attack, while you are in Fire. So quite nice. Then you have Earth, that's the defensive trade line, because you get access to some damage reduction here in the small trades and some cooldown reductions, as well as some barrier when you swap to Earth. But you also get some protection when you get an aura, which is quite often the case in this build. But if you need more damage and you don't need that much damage reduction, you can easily go for Serrated Stones for a little bit more damage increase on top of that with the bleeding. So quite aggressive option with this trade, but I would recommend the Elemental Shielding. Then you take Strength of Storm, of course, you get some condition damage based on your toughness, really good. You're Celestial, so you get a decent number there. And then you get bleeding whenever you immobilize a foe, so that's quite nice. Every 3 seconds you can do that. You immobilize actually quite frequently, so that's quite good. And then lastly, we have, of course, Written in Stone. Really strong trait in solo scenarios, so your Signet's passives will stay active even if you use them. And you can use then, for example, your Fire Signet or Earth Signet to get some nice damage out and get still the passive, so really good. And you get an aura, which then procs this trait to get some protection. That's the synergy there. In Weaver, you just take the very aggressive traits. You get some barrier when you use the dual attack skills, you get some more stats, and you get a lot of crit chance increase against weakened foes. Your dual attacks weaken and weaken for quite a while, so you use a dual attacks frequently in the rotation that we will get to in a second, and you get therefore 15% permanent crit chance, really nice. Some more condition damage and condition duration. When you swap, really, really strong. And then lastly, you of course take Elementals of Rage. Yes, that grants you precision based on Vitality. That's on a Condi build not that important, but still good, of course, because you're Celestial. And you get some more damage and condition damage when you attune to a single element, and which will you also do in the rotation. Short addition, if you want to go for more defenses, you can easily drop the Elements of Rage and go for Invigorating Strikes to get more barrier and vigor when you dodge. So very, very nice. But of course, that's the most damaging option with Elemental of Rage. Now quickly cover the skills. So like I said, you use 3 signets, Signet of Restoration, passive healing, you can activate it and still have the passive healing as well and get some aura as well. Then you have Primordial Stance, instant cast stance that will apply conditions based on the current equipped elements. Weaver can attune to 2 elements, so it is really good, and it can also stack if you're double fire attuned, it will apply 2 times burning. And then you have Signet of Fire, like I said, active, it's really good for burning AoE, really long range as well. And if passive gives you more crit chance. And then you use Signet of Earth, of course, for some more toughness passively, and actively it grants Immobilize and therefore inflicts even more bleeding than it says here, and some Magnetic Aura. So really strong aura if you need some reflects. Then you take for the elite skills, Glyph of Elementals. For the most amount of damage, you would use that in fire. For the damage, if you need a lot of healing, you use it in water and have crazy amounts of heal as well there. If you want to be more rotation focused, you can go for Weave Self and have a bit more CC as well. But this makes the rotation way more complicated, so I think this is the safest bet. So I would go always for Glyph of Elementals. For your weapon skills, you would always use your 2 and 3 skill, depending on the rotation. We will get to that in a second, but they all apply just a lot of damage. That's like pistol is just long range damage, and the auto take is the same. You would typically use fire and earth mostly, and you can swap into water for the optimal rotation, but it would always be the same that you use your 2 and 3 skill for damage. And in fire, you have even more boons with the 4 skill and even more fire fields with the 5 skill that you can then blast. So you would also use that in the rotation. And then, of course, you have 4 skill here, which extends the boons and grants some protection and magnetic aura, while it's also blast finisher. This grants some nice resistance. So very nice utility in there. And you also have to be aware that the pistol has a special like gameplay, but if you follow the rotation, it doesn't really matter too much. That you empower your next earth pistol skill if you use a pistol earth skill. So if you use this first and then this, you get this when consuming an earth bullet effect at the bottom. If you use the second skill first and then the third skill, you get this barrier instead. So for most amount of damage, you would use the 3 and then the 2, but for most amount of barrier or defenses, you would use 2 and the 3. So there is some kind of like inherent difficulty there or challenge to always understand which kind of rotation you have to adjust to fit it to the current situation, but it's very strong. And in water, you also have really good utility as well, especially because you can use, for example, some nice healing and some CC and a blast finisher, and you have a water field here as well. So if you use the 5 and then the 4, you get an AoE heal. You can also use some more heal as well in other water skills. Then you have here some nice stability and some super speed if you really want to swap to air, which is not the damaging thing. You would only swap there if you need CC or utility from condition removes here, and some mobility here. So this is the general skills. There are a lot of skills to cover on Weaver as well. Like I said, 2 and 3 skill typically for damage in earth, water, and fire. When it comes to the rotation, you would start in double attuned fire while also having your Glyph Elementals and fire active. Then you use your 3 skill and use instantly your Primordial Stance because it's an instant cast. Use your 2 skill in fire and use your signets. Use your 4 and 5 in fire to get some more burning and damage out and swap to earth. Use your dual skill and use your 2 skill. And then auto attack until double earth attunement is possible. Then use your 4 skill to get some area might and use your 3 skill into 5 and 2. And then you swap to water. As soon as it comes off cooldown, use the dual skill again, use the 2 skill. And as soon as fire comes off cooldown, you swap to fire and always use your signet off cooldown. Use your dual skill again, use your 2 skill in fire and double swap to fire. Use your 3 skill and use Primordial Stance while also using your 2 skill again. And then use your 4 and 5. When they come off cooldown, swap to earth, use your 2 skill and repeat this whole loop. So you always rotate between fire, earth, water, fire. This is the whole rotation. And only dual attuning in fire and earth. And you can see you get really nice damage numbers, over 19k if the fight lasts long enough, and you have very good defenses. As you can see, I can out-heal the medium damaging field very easily, and if you go for more defensive options, you can even go very high as well. You can see this build is very fun in the background. I had a lot of fun coming up with this, and if you enjoyed this guide, be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, thanks to all my supporters, and I hope to see you all in the next video.
Dreams keep flying away. It's somewhere far beyond. Keep chasing them and I never rest for a day. There's something I don't do. I feel the wind blowing my face, but that's alright. I smile at people passing by. Some smile back. some might not. I'm always looking for a shade when it's hot. I've been low key and I'm trying to stop. Goddamn, feeling good. Yeah, but when off I go. Pretty afternoon, it's a fast forward. Looking at the skyline, looking back at my life, and I gotta say it's one of a kind. Yeah, but when off I go. Pretty afternoon, it's a fast forward. Looking at the skyline, looking back at my life, and I gotta say it's one of a kind. It's been a while since I ran into you on a street. I wonder if you moved. Hope everything is going amazing for you, and you're not feeling blue. I feel the rain pour down my face, but that's alright. I smile at people passing by. Some smile back, some might not. I'm always looking for a shade when it's hot. I've been low key and I'm trying to stop. Goddamn, feeling good. Yeah, but when off I go. Pretty afternoon.